Hi, I'm George Pearson, and in this Photoshop Elements video, we'll be doing this child's Christmas card right here. Now everything is contained inside of Photoshop Elements, so you won't need any additional imagery or pictures, anything like that. It's all done here inside of Elements. Now if you like this video, make sure you click that like button, and of course, click on share and share with your friends through social media. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and take a look at my complete training courses for Photoshop Elements. You'll find a link right down there, right beneath the video. Okay, let's get to it. We'll start off this Christmas card for kids here by making a brand new file. I'll just close this one down. Go up to File, New, Blank File, right there. And I'll set this at the default Photoshop Elements size, which is a width of 6, height of 4 at 300. But let's just reverse the width and the height. So I'll make it a width of 4 and a height of 6. That gives you a vertical or portrait format in here. Now mine came in as a floating window. You see that it's not really critical on this particular project. If you don't want to have a floating window, that's fine. To have that, just go up here to Edit, come down to Preferences and General. And in here, make sure these two check boxes are checked, and you'll then have floating windows. Now one nice use for this, if you're working on this vertical format, because the program is designed for horizontal formats, this gives you a little bit more working room in here. You can zoom in quite a bit here, 33 1/3%, just about fills up the area here, so you get a bit more view. If I took this and just docked it in here, I'd only see just the top 2/3 of the picture, and the bottom third would be hidden. So having this as a floating window for this particular project can help you, give you just a little bit more working space in here. If we need anything in behind, you can always just move it to the side to grab our options. Okay, so first thing in here is to put in a gradient on the background layer. Now it's going to be a dark blue to light blue gradient. So let's go over here to our colors, click on the foreground color. This would be kind of a dark blue in here someplace. The color that I actually used, I'll just type this one in here for you. It's 043567 right there. Kind of a soft blue, a little bit on the dark side. That's the foreground color. Now the background color, click on the background right in there. And on this one, I'll type this one in as well. This one is 0CD9F2. So kind of a brighter, more of a cyan color right up in here, and she's okay. So there's our foreground and our background colors. We can now go up here to the gradient tool, and it should automatically give you that gradient. This is just showing you the first option here, which is the foreground to background, and that's correct. If reverse is checked, just uncheck that. You don't want to have that checked. Everything else will be at its standard settings, normal, opacity 100, and it should be on the left one here, which is the linear option. Now once you have that, you can just come up here just off the screen at the top, hold the Shift key down and pull straight down. The Shift key makes it an actual vertical line. It's not going to be going off to the side at any angle. Just come just off the bottom, and that gives you that nice dark blue to light blue grading. See right there on the background layer. Okay, that takes care of the background. First step is done. The next step is to come in and put in our hills in here. For that, we'll want to go back to our colors again, and we'll be doing a foreground and background in here on a gradient. We'll be putting the gradient onto our hills once they are made, but I'll start off here with putting on our colors first, get the setup for this. So click on your foreground color, and the one for this one is 69C2CC. Right there, just kind of a soft, medium light blue in there. And then on your background color, you'll just type this one in. It's going to be C8E2E5 right there. Again, still a soft color, but just a little bit lighter. See, I have pretty muted colors in here for that because, of course, we have our bright stuff in front, so the background stuff is a bit muted. It looks kind of odd here. This will all work out correctly as we put it in our hills. Now for the hill shape, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here. I'll hold the Alt key down and click out couple of spots. It gives me a lot of space around the image. So I can then come in here and do a larger ellipse to give me that nice curved hill shape. Now I want to be coming down about 2/3 of the way down. Here's half, so 2/3 is right around in here, right around the 4-inch mark if you're using your rulers over here. Somewhere around there's kind of the top of that hill. So let's go over to our ellipse tool. I'm just going to grab the shape tool right here and the ellipse on the shape. There it is, ellipse and custom shape tool. And then come over here someplace and just begin dragging like that so you get this nice large ellipse, and then pull that up. Now if it's not curved enough, you can actually pull this in a little bit. Well, kind of a nice curve, and there's something about that size, pretty big as you can see. And I'll grab my move tool here, and let's just position that right about there. So it's just about at the 4-inch mark. Not exactly, pretty close, with a nice big curve on it. So that's going to be our background hill right in there. Now to put the gradient on this, we need to convert this from a shape into just a regular graphic. So click on the name here, it says shape 1, and simplify layer. It's now just a graphic in here. We can also rename this hill 1 at this point. That's our background hill. Now to get this selected so I can put a gradient in here just on this shape, hold the control key down and click on the icon right there. And that selects just that shape. In this case, it's just giving us that selection right here. I can now put a gradient in here and it will stop right in that area. Okay, go to our gradient tool. It should automatically give you the foreground to the background, as you can see right here. In this case, I want to have the light color first and the dark color second. So I'm going to click on the reverse right down here. It just reverses that gradient. And then come in here right at the top and pull straight down. Again, you can hold the shift key if you want to make that exact. Just down to the bottom. And that puts in that gradient right there. Notice how much brighter this looks here against this background than it does down here with our selected colors. So that's what I was talking about. This is going to be exactly right. Even though it's muted looking over here, once it's in context, it all looks correct. Okay, let's go ahead now and deselect that. That's our first hill. Let's make another one over here to the right-hand side for a second hill. Same trick again. Go back to our shape and just come down here and make a hill. Oh, kind of like this, about halfway up. As you can see, there's kind of just cutting in a little bit. So about that shape in here. Again, it's wider than the image, not as big as the first one, a little bit smaller, and goes about halfway up the first image. Right there, gives us a nice little curve happening right in here. Same thing, right click and let's simplify that layer. Let's double click on this and rename this one Hill 2. Hold the control key down, click on the icon, that selects that. Back to our gradient and same exact trick, come right to the top up here and then pull straight down just like that, and there's that curve. Okay, go ahead and deselect that. So there's our first hill, our second hill. Need one more hill over here on the left hand side. Same trick, back to the ellipse shape. Start outside here someplace, get a nice curve on your ellipse, and bring it in over here someplace. Now notice how I'm seeing the curve around there at the bottom. I don't want to see that. I want to have this cut off up here someplace. You need to change this ellipse, go up here to the move tool, and you can either pull this down a little bit so that that center point here is below the edge of the page. There you go, make sure it's below the edge of the page, and you can pull this up just a touch, make a bit more of a curve in here. Just make sure that you keep that center point below the bottom of the page. That way the curve kind of comes down naturally here. It doesn't begin to curve back on itself on the right hand side. If you want it wider, just go ahead and grab that in here. You can actually come in and then adjust this final one to get a nice position. Somewhere around in here is pretty good. So it's a little bit lower than that one, and it's about 2/3 of the way in here on the right hand side. Choose OK. Same thing again, right click, simplify layer. There we go. Hold down your control key, click on the icon, that selects it. Back to the gradient tool, come just up here, just above. Hold your shift key down, pull it straight down to the bottom, and there's that curve. Okay, we can go ahead and deselect that. So there's the hills already in place. Looks real nice and clean. We can now put our snowflakes in. Let's go ahead and zoom in. At this point, I don't care about the hills down here. What I care about is the top section, maybe just the top edge in here. So zoom in to that point and get this nice and large so it's easy to see. And let's make sure we see the whole top. Okay, that's all the way to the top up here. So there's the whole top and just the edge of that bottom. And I can squeeze this in a bit, give us a bit more space out there. There we go. So there's the sky area. We're now going to come over and little icon right here on the color, bottom left hand corner. Put your colors back to their default settings. Click on the reverse. That reverses those back to our default colors in here. Let's now change the foreground color to our basic snowflake color. And this actually is the same as the background color or the light color on the hill. And that was C8, E2, E5 right there. And choose OK. All set. Now go over to the graphics. In the graphics section, you want it by type, and over here, shapes right there. Then to scroll down, it's quite a ways down this list. Let's go fast scroll here, looking for some snowflakes. Now way down here, kind of near the bottom of this overall list. And there we go. It has these different snowflakes in here. We'll be doing this a couple of times. First off, where it says Snowflake 2, it's this one right here. Double click on that. It brings it in on the middle of the page, kind of, and it uses your foreground color to fill a snowflake in. So that's perfect on that. Go to the one here. This is Snowflake 1. Double click on that. It puts that one right on top of that one, still centered, as you can see. Okay, now that we have those, let's go back to our layers. I'm going to just pull this over just a little bit here. Go to layers, and these are these two shapes up here. So first one is selected. Hold the Control or the Shift key down and click on the second one here. So they're now both selected, and then right click on the name and merge shapes. Now it'll become just one shape like that. Now right click on the name and simplify that layer. It's now just a graphic like we did with the hills down below here, and then change the opacity to 50%. There we go. Okay, let's go back over to our graphics, and you should still be on that same graphic right there. That's fine. Let's change our colors here. Click on the little icon right down there, makes the colors back to their defaults, and then click on that double arrow, and that puts white as your foreground color. Now double click on this snowflake, and you should get that snowflake sitting here on top of the snowflakes underneath. Now if the snowflake comes in like this with that light blue color instead of white, let's go ahead and fix that. Go back here to layers. You should see a new shape layer right there, shape number 4. And let's go over here and click on the ellipse tool. This is your shape tools. And you can see right here underneath, there's that color right there. So it didn't change the color over as it should have. Sometimes that happens. Just click on that and then click on white, and that changes that over here to white. So that takes care of that. And then back over to our layers, right click on shape 4, simplify that layer, and then change this one to 50%. There we go. That all looks good. Now hold down the Alt key and then pull this in like that. And the Alt key makes it pull in from the center. Just pull your corner in until that's smaller in the middle. And you get this kind of double snowflake thing happening in here. Okay, at this point we can rename these things. Now we don't want to leave that as shape 1 down here. Let's go ahead and let's rename shape 1. This one should say Hill 3. Get that taken care of. And then we have these two graphics. Now if you see that little box in that corner, make sure that you go back and right click and simplify, because that box means that it's still a shape. Once these are simplified, you can then hold down the Shift key so they're both selected, right click, and come down and choose Merge Layers right there. Okay, now it's all merged as just one snowflake piece. Okay, now we need to have 5 copies of this snowflake. We'll do them one at a time. I'm just going to rename this one Snowflake, and then drag it up here for a copy. That's our first copy. And I'll put that one just kind of over here behind the hill. Now it should be behind the hill and not in front of. We'll take care of that in just a minute. So it'll go over here someplace. Let's make another copy of that. And let's pull this one up here towards the top, maybe just off the top up here someplace like this, just a little bit off like that. Let's copy that one, and let's put this one up here, upper right hand corner. That's pretty good. Let's make another copy of that. Let's put that one down here. Kind of down here someplace. And then back to our first one. This one will be right in here somewhere. So kind of like this, just kind of spreading them out like this. Now at this point, if you want to save this for future independent snowflake work, let's go ahead and make a copy of that one. Okay, now we have these 5 copies. 4, 3, 2, that's copy 1, there's copy 5. Hold the Shift key down so that all the copies are selected and leave the regular one not selected. You can actually hide that layer if you want to at this point. So let's hide that one. On these, right click and merge layers. So it's now just one layer with the snowflakes on that one layer. At this point, we can take this layer and just drag it down underneath the hill right there. So the snowflake is under the hill, and it's now kind of in behind the hill down there. That solves that. Okay, take this and make a copy of this layer. There we go. And I want to resize this one. You may need to pull it out a little bit so you can see that edge. There it is. Just pull it down, make these about half as big. And then let's just pull this up in here somewhere, kind of like that. Looks pretty good. Let's make another copy of that one. And let's pull that copy down here, down below. Just allow it to fill in the areas down below. So just have some varied snowflakes happening in there, all made up of just those 3 snowflake layers. At this point, again, here's our original snowflake. I'm going to pull this one down here, put it down below all those snowflakes. I left this one alone in case you want to go back and do more snowflakes from just that one snowflake. So that's kind of a safety in here. Now, if you're working in a later version of Photoshop Elements 15 or later, you have this group right here, group button. You can use that at this point to organize things a little bit. Just click on your top snowflake, hold the Shift key down, click on the bottom snowflake, and click on Group. That puts those into a snowflake group. Do the same thing here for the hills. Just select them all, hit that group, and it puts them into a second group with those hills in there. So you can use the groups to kind of clean up your space a little bit here, again, if you're working with a later version of Photoshop Elements. I'll leave these groups open like this for anybody who's working on earlier versions of the program. Okay, that takes care of all of our snowflakes. That's all done. We can now zoom out a little bit here. I'm just going to go up here to View and Fit on Screen. So there's the whole picture right in there. We can now put in our gingerbread man right down below here. Now it's also a graphic, and it's graphics here. So it's graphics and graphics. And there we go. I'm just going to use the scroll wheel on my mouse, and I'll just scroll up like this until we find that gingerbread man. He's up here just a little ways, not too far. Just keep on scrolling up until we spot him. There he is, right there next to all these bows in here. Double click on that, and that should bring him onto the page. There he is. Just pull him down here someplace. It's a bit small. Just grab the corner here and pull him up to pretty good size. Just kind of fit in right in there someplace, kind of like that, maybe a little larger. That looks good. Just nice big gingerbread man. Now I want to put some styling on him, so we'll zoom in on that. Let's switch back over to the layers, and there's the gingerbread man right there. Go up to the layer menu here, come down to layer style and style settings. In here, change the lighting angle to 48. Just kind of off to the right hand side a little bit there. And we'll place in a drop shadow. Click on drop shadow. Now on the size, change this to 21. Your color should be at black already. That's just fine. Change the distance here to 43. That pulls the distance out a little bit. Now the distance is how far out the shadow is. The size controls the softness of the edge of that shadow. Bigger number, softer edge. Smaller number, a crisper or tighter edge. And opacity at 35, that's fine. Just a little bit of a drop shadow in there like that. Let's go ahead and bring that back up again. Click on where it says FX. And let's now add a bevel onto this. Click on bevel. It's a little bevel edge. You can kind of see that effect in there. It should be up on your direction, and then bring the size up here to about 24. And it just gives some thickness in here to the gingerbread man. There it is without, kind of flat looking, and there it is with. And that adds in a little bit of thickness onto that. Okay, it takes care of him. Let's now come up here a little bit, and we'll put in our text. I'm just going to back out just a bit here. Got the zoom control. I want to see the whole top of the page. Right in there, that's pretty good. So the text will be right up in this area here. We'll switch over here to the type tool, right down there, horizontal type tool. Now I'm using Comic Sans MS Bold Real standard typeface. Has been around forever practically. I have the text here at centered text. That's fine. And change the size here. I'll change this to a size of 50 pixels. There we go. Letting at auto, that's fine. Now the color grabs your current foreground color. White is fine on this, but you could choose any color you want in here. It doesn't matter at this stage what that color is. If white doesn't show up well for you, change it to a different color. We'll be covering that with the red and white stripes in just a minute or two here. Okay, so there's our basic type setup. Come in here in the middle someplace, just like that. Click in here and then double check your settings. Sometimes I found these tend to move around a little bit, so just double check your settings. It all looks good. And let's type in our text here, have a, and an enter key, return. Candy cane, enter, return. And Christmas. So there is our basic type right there. We now want to rotate this around. If you come out just outside, see the bounding box in here? Now just outside a corner, click on a corner and then come just outside. See how you get the kind of a bent arrow there? Click at that point and you should see the transform dialog box pop up down here. Okay, with the transform dialog box, we're going to rotate this around. So just type in -15. That's -15 degrees. It just gives it a little bit of a rotation. You can do it by hand if you want to, but that's the number that I used. Okay, there's our 15 degree. Let's bring it back in. I think maybe a little bit more of a curve on that, just a touch. So it's actually about 20, 21 degrees in there. And it looks a little bit large. Sometimes you may have to adjust your size a touch at this point if it's coming too close to your edges. Just grab the corner and you can pull that in just a little bit until it fits, have a little bit of space on the sides out there. So again, this time about 20 degrees actual rotation on that. And I brought the size of the text down just a bit. Now you can see the actual text size if you want to. Go back here to your type tool, click inside, and there it is. So that was about 47 degrees, or 47 pixels rather, on that final text size. Not really sure why it changes around a little bit, but it does tend to do that sometimes here in Elements. So just kind of adjust as you go. But that's what you want. So it looks kind of like this. So it's centered pretty much up and down on that sky area in there. Okay, that's the basic layout for this. Let's now put our candy cane stripes on here. For the candy cane, come to your foreground color and let's set this at red. Just click over here someplace. It should be in your red zone automatically. So click in here, just pull up upper right hand corner. If you're seeing something else here like blues or something, just grab this little control handle right there, pull it straight to the bottom, and then go upper right hand corner and choose OK. So there's red for your foreground. Click on the background, click anywhere out here and pull the upper left hand corner, and that's your white. So it's red foreground and white background. Let's now make a new layer here above the text layer. There you go, new layer. Fill this layer with your red color. There you go. Okay, now go up to Filter, come down to Filter Gallery, let that load in, and in here you want to be in the Sketch section right here, and Halftone Pattern. In the halftone pattern, you want size set at 8 and contrast all the way to the top at 50, and you want your pattern type at line. And what that does is it gives you stripes with your foreground and background color, starting off with the foreground color and then background, then back and forth. So you get this nice red and white striped thing happening. Choose OK. So there's a nice striped layer right above your text layer. Now right click on the name of this, our stripe layer, and come down and click on Create Clipping Mask. What this does is it takes the stripes and puts it inside of the lettering that's just underneath. And there's your candy cane lettering right there. Now I want to have this more of a 3D look, so we're going to put some styling on this as well. Go over and move down to the text layer right here. That's your type. And then change to styles right down below here. Now in here the top option should be bevels. And in here we have inner ridge, and this one is scalloped edge, and this one over here is simple emboss, and so forth. The one you want is that scalloped edge. Click on that, and that should apply that bevel and emboss effect onto your lettering. There we go. There's our kind of rounded lettering effect. Okay, let's go back over to layers. There's a little FX now on this layer. Double click on that FX, and that brings up the style settings dialog box right here. Let's first come down to stroke. Click on stroke, and you'll be seeing this. It should look like outside and black over here. Change this to inside, and click on the color right here. Click in here someplace, drag upper left hand corner, makes that white, choose OK, and then change your size here to 6. Now if I kind of uncheck and check that, you can see what that does. Gives just a little bit of a white highlight around that edge. Actually increases the effect of this being round. So there's the stroke taken care of. All we need now is just to have a drop shadow on this one. So let's go over here to drop shadow. Now on the size, let's bring this down a bit. It's thin letters, so you want a smaller size. Set that at 13. Let's bring it out a little bit. So let's change our distance here to 27. There's a drop shadow. And it's not quite dark enough, so let's bring our opacity up a little bit. I used 41 on mine, and there we go. There's our drop shadow. And choose OK. And there it is. Have a candy cane Christmas. Let's just drag this out here. I'll float this again. And I'll pull our screen out a little bit, back to our zoom tool. And I'll grab my zoom control, which is right here. And let's just zoom that up a little bit. So you can see that a bit better in here. There we go. So there's the have a candy cane Christmas card for kids. If you enjoyed this video project, make sure you click that like button down below. It really helps out with my channel. Also make sure you click on share and share with your friends through social media. And don't forget to take a look at my complete training courses for Photoshop Elements, and that's right down there right below the video. You'll find that link right there in the top of the description. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it useful. If you like this video, click on the like button below to let others know. You can click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. I'm frequently uploading new training videos. Don't forget to check out my website at howtogurus.com.